It is one final preseason installment of the McCue Report as we come to you one last time here from the University of Virginia. Final preparations underway, getting everything taken care of before Virginia hits the road for its first game of the season in Pasadena, California. Alongside Director of News Content, Jeff White, I am Director of Broadcasting and Voice of the Cavaliers, Dave Koehn. And, you know, Jeff, we've talked for the last 4 weeks about all the I's and T's being dotted and crossed. Come Saturday, some of those questions that we've been asking for the last 4 weeks will be answered.
Yeah, you know, we've been wondering, can this team run the ball with authority? Can the defense produce the pass rush it had last year? Can the young linebackers hold up? How will Matt Johns do? This is not his first career start, but this is the first time he goes into a game as the clear #1 quarterback. So yeah, we're going to know a lot more about this team late Saturday afternoon than we do right now.
Some questions also from the UCLA side of things. Although they bring back the majority of that team last year with essentially 19 starters back from last season's squad, they do have a new face in the form of a true freshman quarterback, Josh Rosen, who's an All-American quarterback. In a lot of ways, stark contrast between these two teams in that position. Here comes Matt Johns. He's a guy who had to earn everything he's got. Slowly, he's worked his way into that starting role. Here's Rosen, who is starting his first game as a true freshman. You wonder what he's going to look like in that first game under the bright lights.
That's a tough situation for anybody. I think probably the coaching staff feels good about the fact that the game is at home for UCLA, that he's got a lot of talent around him. He enrolled at UCLA in January, so he's had some time to learn the playbook, but that's still a lot to ask of a true freshman. You know, there's no question Virginia's defensive coordinator, John Tenuta, will try to take advantage of his youth and inexperience, but then I think John would try to do that with even a senior quarterback. He's going to want to put pressure on whoever the opposing quarterback is.
The reality is that more likely than not, UCLA is going to try to really attack on the ground, as they did such a good job with Paul Perkins last year, leading the Pac-12 in rushing yards. You expect them to come at Virginia with a heavy dose of the ground game. You mentioned the linebackers. It'll be interesting to see how those guys fare.
They know Coach Tenuta's system. They're athletic kids. They're smart kids. I think they'll do fine. The question becomes, if other linebackers are needed, there's not as much experience. We'll find out a lot more about that group Saturday, too.
One other storyline to watch going into this game, we talked about TJ Thorpe earlier in the season, the fact that Virginia lost him. Well, UCLA finds out late in the game that they will have to go without one of their stars in Ishmael Adams. He's a guy that started 26 consecutive games for the Bruins. He's a return man, scored a defensive touchdown against Virginia last season. You don't want to lose a player of that magnitude who brings a little toughness and some experience going into this game.
Yeah, you don't want to lose a player like that at such a late date. The young man plays multiple positions for them, so it's not as easy as just putting one guy in and filling all those roles. I imagine both teams are kind of banged up, and we won't know until Saturday exactly who's playing and who's not for both teams. So that's another kind of X factor in this game.
Well, last year, Virginia surrendering 3 defensive touchdowns against UCLA in the second quarter alone. They'll look to try to avoid some of those mistakes and avoid history repeating itself in Pasadena come Saturday afternoon. That'll do it for us. For Jeff White, I'm Dave Koehn. We'll see you on Saturday from the Rose Bowl.